So a lot of the people I train with are a little bit smaller than me. I'm 6'1", 6'2", 210 pounds, and fairly big guy, which means that a lot of the people that I train with are a little bit smaller than me, you know, in the 180 pound, 190 pound range. So how do I get something of value out of this, and how do I make it valuable to them? There are a few different ways to do this. I'm going to talk about 3 of my favorite ways to train with people who are a good deal smaller than you. Number 1, most importantly, if you're on top, don't rely on your weight. Now, when you're doing jiu-jitsu properly, if you're really in a death match, if you're really fighting somebody and you need to use every advantage, of course, put all your weight on your opponent. If you're in side mount, have almost no weight on your knees, have almost no weight on your elbows, have almost no weight on your hands so that all your weight goes on your opponent. You squish them flat. But if you're going against somebody smaller and you want to be able to train with them, let them move. And the way to do that is by doing the wrong thing. Put weight on your knees, put weight on your elbows, put weight on your hands, and allow them to move under you. Try and use technique to stop them from moving. Try and match them as they move. If they move, you respond. Turn into a movement-based game as opposed to a crush the bug flat game. It's important to train that as well. But what we're talking about here is taking advantage of the thing that a smaller training partner brings to you, the movement that's possible. Because most small guys move faster, and that's a good way for you to train to move faster as well. Now, that's on top. If you're on the bottom, if you're playing your guard, how do you take advantage of a smaller training partner? How do you get something valuable out of that, and how do you make it valuable for them? Because if you're only ever taking, guess what? They're not going to want to train with you. And my style of training right now, I do a lot of one-on-one. People come to me and I train with them one-on-one. Just with my crazy busy schedule, this is the best way for me to do it. So I want to make it valuable for them. I don't just want to take advantage. I want to make sure that they get back. So if I'm on the bottom, if I'm 50 pounds bigger than the other guy, I'm not going to play closed guard. I'm not going to play lockdown. I'm not going to clamp them out in spider guard and spread them out like a scarecrow and hold them there. What's the common theme there? They're all total immobilization guards, right? If you're bigger and stronger than the other guy and you clamp him in a closed guard, unless his level's super high, you're going to hold him in place with that closed guard. If you lock down the lockdown on his leg and stretch him out, he's not going to be able to move. You don't want this to be your go-to. Against a smaller guy, go with more movement-based guards. Take advantage of what they're good at, which is movement, which is moving faster than you. So if you don't nullify that, this isn't competition, this is training. Don't nullify their advantage and let the game open up. Let them move. Force yourself to move as well. And the third method is to allow them to start an advantage. This is very similar to training with lesser skilled people. If you're training against somebody smaller, let them start out with, let them get an armbar on you and then fight your way out. Let them take your back and then fight your way out. Start out on the bottom in side mount and fight your way out. Now the trouble here is that ego's going to kick in. Ego's going to kick in and you're not going to want to let them do that armbar. I was just recently training with a friend of mine. I'm bigger than him. I'm more experienced than him. I was goofing around. I let him get an armbar. I thought I could defend the armbar. Then I realized he was actually going for a wrist lock. And we've got this thing, I try and wrist lock him, he tries to wrist lock me, and there's no way in hell I'm going to get caught by a wrist lock by this guy. So all of a sudden, despite everything that I'm saying here, I went full power. Like, I'm going to use every ounce of strength that I have to get out of that wrist lock, and thank God that I did. Otherwise, I'd still be hearing about it, being chirped about it. So it's tricky to put yourself into bad situations because you're going to end up going aggro. You're going to end up using power. So another option, I know I said 3, this is actually 3.5, is to limit your technique. Limit your technique and only do one thing. You are only going to do the Kimura from the top position. You're only going to use the 2-on-1 control from butterfly guard. You're only going to take the back and do a bow and arrow choke. You're only going to go and maneuver into the 411 and apply the reverse heel hook very gently. Limit your techniques and only go for one thing. Let him or her do whatever she or he wants to do. You only do one thing. It's again very similar to how you would train against somebody who's less skilled. And this is how, incidentally, people who run a school that's an out-of-the-way place. They don't have a very high caliber of training partners. This is how they get better. Typically, they pick one aspect of their game. Today, arm bars from mount, that's it. Everything's geared towards getting to the mount and finishing the arm bar. And that might be the whole week. That might be the curriculum and the focus of the whole week. Next week, taking the back and applying the twister from the back. I don't know, pick a technique. That's what you're going for against everybody. So all the smaller people know what you're going for. All the bigger people who are not as skilled know what you're going for. And they get good at defending that. So now you're getting a higher level of resistance, even though those people are smaller than you, not as strong as you, and not as skilled as you. All right? You can make a lot of progress going against people who are smaller than you. And incidentally, the chance of injury is lower going against somebody smaller than you. So you are the bigger person, literally. Take care of those smaller people. Don't screw them up. Don't drop all your weight. Don't do anything ballistic. Don't I'm just going to magically cartwheel right over top of you while hanging onto your leg and see what happens. Because something's going to pop and probably it'll be the smaller guy's leg. Probably the smaller guy's shoulder. So, you're bigger. Be the bigger man. Move with control. Don't use a ton of weight if you're on top. If you're on bottom, don't use clamp-based guards as much. Let the game open up. Let them beat you. And then play with letting them put you into bad positions and limiting your game to just a few techniques. And you'll both make progress. Remember, when you're training, a rising tide lifts all boats. This isn't about winning. This is about getting better. The two are related, but they're also different. In a training context, you want to make things as equal as possible because most of the time, when you get better, it's training against people who are roughly your level, or if you've handicapped yourself, disadvantaged yourself enough to make it competitive. You want it to be competitive. You don't just want to shut them down and crush the bug and leave an oil stain on the mat. You want it to be competitive. You want both people to have a good time. You want both people to be safe. And you want both people to learn. All right? Take care. Catch you in the next video. All right? Take care. Catch you on the next podcast.